So I'd like to welcome Jason Creel to the show. Hey, Jason, how's it going?
Doing good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk with you today.
That's awesome. Looking forward to this interview for a while. Thank you very much for coming onto the podcast. So let's just jump right into it. So maybe tell us a bit about yourself and your business.
Yeah. So some people, follow me on YouTube. I'm down in Alabama, and where we get really hot in the summertime and deal with warm season grasses. But this, I'm in my third lawn care business, and I pretty much do weed control and fertilization nowadays. The first two businesses I was focused primarily on mowing grass, but now I still mow my own grass and still talk a lot about lawn care equipment, but I'm pretty much a squirt and fert kind of guy now.
Oh, okay. So when you started your business originally, was it a side hustle that you started at, or did you just dive right into going full time with your lawn care business?
Yeah, so it was full time. I was younger and didn't have life was a lot cheaper back
Yeah.
then, just to be honest with you. So when I've had a lot of jobs, mostly bad ones, and
Mhm.
so when I just got to the point where I thought I'm going to do something on my own. I didn't know what to do exactly, so I decided to start a lawn business because even though I didn't have any real experience in that, it just seemed something that I felt like I had a chance to succeed in that. And when I started, and I mean, I think it was, I know it was in the first year, but maybe within the first few months, I landed a contract that paid me a little over $1,000 a month
Oh,
for a little neighborhood entranceway, which, well, again, coming from the jobs I had worked, that was
mhm.
like really, really good. And so
Yeah.
at that point, I never really looked back. And, it's been a roller coaster to some extent, but I still enjoy it. And I can't think of many things I'd rather be doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That reminds me a lot of I've talked about on the podcast too. When I first started in lawn care, I had this naive idea that the previous job I had, I was working. I think it was $17 an hour. So I thought, well, you know what? If I go out on my own and start a lawn care business, as long as I'm making $17 an hour to match my old job, I'll be like, totally fine. This will be
That's
gravy,
right.
right? And yeah,
Yeah.
wrong.
No, I had to. I think that's a big, people struggle with that mentality so much still, and I still do sometimes. I'm sitting there crunching up my hourly wage, but you don't think of all the added expenses of being in business. And then too, just I'm thinking, there's no company matching 401k plan, or
Mhm.
companies not paying for my health insurance. There's a lot of expenses that go with being self-employed. So you definitely got to make more than whatever hourly rate you would get paid at a more traditional job.
hmm So you talked about having a bunch of bad jobs, like a lot of people go through. I can't even remember all the jobs that I've had in my life as well. What first attracted you to the lawn care industry and made you want to start your own business?
Yeah. So basically what happened was I began exploring the idea of being self-employed, and I bought a book. It was by a guy named Dan Miller, and he wrote this book called 48 Days to the Work You Love. It was more like a workbook style when I
Okay.
got it. So he would actually mail you a 3-ring binder, and it had a workbook, and you kind of write out your own answers. He's asking
Okay.
about your past and everything. So when I got to working through it, I mean, I kind of was thinking, yeah, I want to be self-employed, and that made a lot of sense to me. But again, I'm not going to invent some product. I was thinking more along the lines of service industry. So
Okay. Yeah.
it really wasn't. It was just something I thought it was about the only thing I thought that I could do. I mean, I didn't have a great deal of skills. I had a
hmm
college degree and things like that, but I wasn't interested in that field. So I don't know. It just seemed something achievable. I didn't do a lot of research into it to know that it had a lot of potential. Or again,
Okay. Yeah.
I was young and naive and just got
hmm
started in doing something. I think sometimes that might be the best way. You just get going, and because there's a lot of potential in a lot of things, but
Yeah. Yeah.
dancing around and changing back and forth is usually no good. So it was just, I think having that early success helped me, and then I just trying to figure out what I was doing wrong and trying to improve on it year after year.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You raised some great points there too. As you were talking, I was like thinking back about my past experiences. I've started a bunch of different businesses in the past. I've always been entrepreneurial in that
Yeah.
sense, but one of the things you said there, like, basically kind of sticking to it, and saying, and
Mhm.
lawn care is one of the things that I have stuck to, and it's proven to be successful. Where, when I was younger, starting some other businesses, it always seemed like, hey, I want to start a business, want to do this, and then 6 months would go by, you're kind of getting rough, you start to get depressed, and then the next shiny thing comes by, right? And it's like, oh, what if I do
Mhm.
that business, right? And you go off and try something different and stuff, and you don't put
Yeah.
the time in to actually get the results
Yeah.
that are required. So very
No, I
important.
actually I did that. While I still had my lawn business, I tried to start a separate business. I started a coupon book fundraising company,
Okay.
and it basically failed. After I put a year into it, it failed. I was thinking, at the time I thought this is the greatest thing ever, and really what it did was that failing in that helped me more appreciate the lawn business. Even though the
Hmm.
lawn business is hard work, it's not an easy business, but it made me appreciate that there is a lot of opportunity there. And, sometimes some other stuff may look easy and like there's a big pot of money out there, but,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
almost any business takes a lot of effort and work,
Yes,
and so
yes.
it just takes time, and figuring out what your mistakes you're making. So anyway, I
Yeah.
chased other ventures and failed myself.
Yeah, yeah. No, and it's obviously it's a great learning experience as well, because you take those lessons into the other endeavors that you try. And it's funny, Steve Jobs had a commencement speech where he said something similar about, you go through life and you explore these different things, and it's only later in life that you can look back and connect the dots and see
That's
how
right.
all of those things led to where you are now. Where at the time it kind of seems like I failed, it was pointless, what a waste of time, sort of stuff. But it's not. You will take lessons from that into the future.
Yeah.
And so very
I
cool,
think
very cool.
a lot of it too is just learning yourself. Somebody with a different set of skills and different
Hmm.
personality might have been very successful in doing the coupon book thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It just wasn't a fit for me, and
Yeah,
I
okay.
didn't know that. I had to basically try it and fail at it,
Hmm.
and to say, you know what, I think I'm actually pretty good at the lawn business. I
Okay,
need
yeah,
to
yeah.
just stick with that and put all my focus on that, and that's where I started. And again, having multiple chances at it. I'm in my third lawn business now, not necessarily intentionally. It just worked out that way. I sold the first one, and then we moved when I had the second one. So I sold it because we were moving 2 hours away. So I had to start over again. But
Okay.
when you get three chances, you kind of are able to fix some of the things you did wrong the first two times.
Yeah, awesome. I'm curious, with that coupon business, do you think now, being older and wiser with things you've learned in the current businesses that you've run, that you could make a go of that coupon business if it were you today? Because I always say, like, looking back at all the businesses that I've tried, that now being older and wiser and able to put ego aside, I look
Yeah.
back and go, the reason they failed was because of me, because of things I did.
Well,
And now going, I could probably totally make those businesses absolutely be successful today if I were to explore them.
Maybe I don't know if I could or not. I don't want. I definitely don't want to try. I think what you think about like the video rental market. Like
Yeah, yeah.
like I told somebody recently, we actually just until I don't know if it's still there now, but I mean up until very recently had still a brick and mortar video rental store where you go and you actually rent the movie.
Okay,
I
yeah, yeah.
didn't know those existed anymore
Yeah.
because everything's streamed, or you might have Redbox or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But anyway, I felt like that was the deal with the coupon book. It was like if I would have came up with a coupon book app, that
Yeah,
would have
yeah.
made more sense. That would have been what's up and coming, where
Hmm.
the book, the whole physical coupon is sort of fading out. Not that
Yeah, yeah.
people still don't use them, they do, but but anyway, I think it was just bad timing. But ultimately, like I needed to be a really great salesperson to do that. And I wasn't a great salesperson, and I should have known that. And I'm still not. I mean, I should have known that.
Hmm.
I can sell a little bit. I sell my lawn service, but I needed to be more of a dynamic personality, or find somebody who was that I
Yeah,
could
yeah.
have brought in to help me. So
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's a great point too, though, is learning or knowing your positives and negatives, what your strengths and weaknesses are,
Yeah, that's
and
right. I don't think it
going.
was the business opportunity. It was
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
I just wasn't the person to execute it, you know.
Okay.
So I spent a year figuring that out, and I might have actually broke even by the end of the year. But if you spend a year to break even, that really means you went backwards,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
I can't work a year for free,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it always reminds me of shows like Dragon's Den and stuff, where you see the guy, or a Shark Tank, where you see the guy like pitching the
Oh yeah,
business, and they're the investors are all sitting there quiet, and they're like, "So, like, what are your numbers? Like, you've been doing this for this long, and you haven't, like, give your head a shake, sort of thing, right?"
yeah,
It's always tough when you're in that position of trying to chase that dream of a business, but ultimately it has to show. You have to start making a profit and stuff for it to be sustainable, and
yeah.
it's a big thing. So with your businesses, have you always been a one-man operation, or do you have employees?
So when I was mowing grass, start off by myself, and I think maybe the second year I added a person, and by the third year I added two people, and then the fourth year I had two trucks going. It was kind of growing, and in the fifth year I sold the business. I wasn't looking to sell, but somebody approached me to buy, so I sold it. So I started over, and but I had a very strict non-compete agreement, so I
Okay.
had to remain in a very small geographic area, and that's when I started the coupon business, and I was still mowing part-time by myself. And then we moved here. I switched over to weed control. It's you got to have a lot more customers doing that, because you're not visiting their home near as often. I do like 7 treatments a year typically, where when you're mowing somebody's lawn, the people around here might do 30 or 35 cuts a year. So
Okay. Yeah.
it took hundreds of customers to get where I actually needed some help. So at the moment, I have a couple of people that work with me part time, but and this is my 6th year in my current business.
Okay.
So I'm hoping. I mean, I desperately want to get somebody brought in full time, just not quite there. I got more work than I can do, but not quite enough to justify bringing in a full time employee yet.
Yeah, yeah, that's a big struggle for people. Is that and so it's a big responsibility, right? You have that on your mind, that this other person's coming to you. They've got bills to pay. They've got things, and you're in that position where you don't have the work to fully sustain having them on,
That's
and
right.
it's tough to expect an employee to be loyal to you and not pursue other options. It's a very tough position when you're in that stage, to go on, and finding good help in the first place is a huge
Oh yeah.
struggle. So when you do find somebody, you want to make sure that you have the work to keep them on, so that you don't lose them to other opportunities for them. Um, yeah, go ahead. You're going to say
Yeah, I
something.
was just saying, what we do here is it's year round, the weed control fertilization, so it
Okay.
never stops. So that's a big advantage.
Mm,
But like for me, I'm trying to make as much money as possible, so I'm doing a lot myself. Which in the short term is kind of a hindrance to growing, because ultimately you got to bring somebody in so that you can keep expanding. So I don't know. I'm trying to basically max out profits this year, and then next year, hopefully, I can get somebody full time, and which again, bringing in somebody full time is going to kind of be a pay cut for me, because you got to pay them for
yes.
full time work, but that will give me that room to grow. And I've got the equipment for 2 people, me
Hmm.
and one other person full time. I've got 2 trucks, 2 sprayers, 2 ride-on spreaders. I got everything I need. I just don't have quite enough customers. So I think maybe next year I can make a little marketing push and try to get up to 2 full-time trucks.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. So this next question is one that I love asking, one of my absolute favorite questions, and it's because when I ask it to somebody who works a 9 to 5 job, I tend to get the same answer. But if I ask a business owner the
Mhm.
question, it's always different answers. So, how would you, Jason Creel, define success?
Man, I have to think about that just for a second.
Yeah, no
Well,
problem.
I mean, and I'm gonna have to get a little bit personal with
Yeah.
just what's going on with me to be able to answer that um, properly. I feel like, because I'm struggling with that. Like, I've got a wife and 4 kids right now, and my oldest kid is 9, so 4 young kids. So
Yes.
so
Yes.
I look at my life like I have to make a lot of money over the next 20, 30 years. I
Hmm.
still got a lot of bills to pay,
Yes.
and we're trying to expand our house, make a bigger house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not really into like big houses and fancy cars or anything, but I'm just saying adequate for the size family that
Yes,
I
of course.
have. So for me, and I've been talking to my wife about this a lot lately. Like, even in making money, like obviously I want to make money, um, but you can be consumed with lawn care all the time, or be consumed with your business. For me, and I'm doing YouTube and stuff on the side, so it's like
Yep.
so for me to be successful by that term, like it wouldn't be to make as much money as possible and be so consumed that I couldn't do other things.
Yes.
So like for me, it's going to be a little more complex answer. That am I able to build my business in a way that I can, and I'm not trying to like not work either. I'm not one that's
Yeah.
just going to sit around and have everybody do everything
Yeah. Yeah.
for me. I want to be actively involved, but I want to keep that at a normal level. I'm not glued to 40 hours a week, but if I can sort of work it where my business gives me stability to take some time off. And I guess what I'm saying, it's just not all about money, though. I
Yes.
think that is so much of a driving force for being self-employed.
Hmm.
If I didn't, I mean, I think it's one of the main driving forces that you have potential to make more money. Obviously, people make a lot of money in a normal job, but I'm trying to think about like how can I make as much money as possible and have some of the freedoms that self-employment allows you for, so that I can be a good dad, be a good
Yes.
husband, be involved in our church and things that we are
Hmm.
important to us, have hobbies that and I'm not there yet, just to be honest.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
now I work a lot,
Hmm.
but I think I'm trying. I got a vision of what I'm trying to build, and that's why that to me that's the difference in self-employed versus the other. Like I think sometimes people have a normal job. Let's say that they say I'm going to work 25 years, and that's what my company says I have to work until I can retire, or maybe when I get to Social Security age, then I can retire. It's kind of a date on the calendar that they know they can walk away. For me, there's no date on the calendar out there. There is maybe an income level I have to reach to where I
Yes.
can comfortably walk away from the demand. But even then, it wouldn't be like I would walk away and do nothing. It's
Hmm.
like I'm trying to build something that I like. We take a lot of pride in our business, where a lot of people that work a normal job, some of them do, some of them don't. So I don't know. I think I'm rambling a little bit, but
No. No.
the idea was yes, it's about money. I wouldn't do it if I didn't
Of
get
course.
paid.
Yep.
But I'm trying to also be successful in all areas of life too. So yeah.
Yeah, you have to balance it. That's the thing, right? People, especially, if you have kids, that's a huge thing. I have kids too, and like for example, this podcast and YouTube and stuff like this, and I'm sure you can relate too. I go like I love doing this stuff. I wake up in the morning and this is what I'm thinking about. I go to bed at night. This is what I'm thinking about. I spend so many hours. I think I work on this more time than I do my actual lawn care business. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a balancing act because this, and people think, oh, you're just doing it to work with brands. You're doing it for this, you're doing it for that. And it's interesting because it's like, yes, you get some free equipment and stuff from time to time doing this sort of thing, but that doesn't pay the bills. That doesn't get your
Yeah.
kids through college. That doesn't, and it weighs on you as a father. I know
Mm-hmm.
for me it does because it's balancing this part of it, the stuff that you like to do and something that's maybe calling you to do. And but the other part of it, the work side of it, and that you could make more money focusing in on that sort of stuff and having those kids and those goals. You want to be, like you said, be a good father. You want to be able to take care of them. You want to be able to make sure they're provided for. My oldest is 18, just started university, and I still am like totally feel responsible for her in the sense like I don't see it ending. Like she's going to be
Yeah.
going through university. The real estate market here in Vancouver, Canada is absolutely ridiculous. with the average home being $2 million. I'm like, how's she ever gonna afford a house? Like, it's so I'm like,
She's gonna have to move to Alabama.
well, that's
She could probably buy, a couple of counties if she
yeah,
moved down here.
well, that's what I joke about all the time. Me and my wife will watch like HGTV at night
Yeah,
sometimes, and
that's
we
right.
watch like these like mansions in Dallas or something, and it's like a 5 acre property with in-ground pool, 10,000 square feet for like $1 million, and we're like, what? Like here, it's like $2 million, and you get like 4 or 5 thousand square foot property with this
Yeah,
with like a 40-year-old house on it. It's like
yeah,
so it's just crazy. So you think about those things, and it's like with the kids and stuff, you're like, man, like how are you gonna? I don't ever see her moving out, sort of thing. So because it's like, how are they gonna afford to? It's
yeah.
crazy. So yeah, it's a lot of responsibility, and that's why I love that question, because it's different for everybody. When you're a
Mm,
business owner, there's so much more. Where when I ask somebody who's like a 9 to 5 job, it's always, well, success is being rich. It's just the money. That's what it is, right? But there's so much to it when you're a business owner. Um, so absolutely very cool. So in where you are in Alabama, you're doing fert and squirts, you said, predominantly now. So what size properties do you guys handle there? Because here in the city where I'm at, it's tiny little, like I said, 4,000, 5,000 square foot properties.
yeah, we have a lot of those too. I mean, I would say average for me is maybe 6,000. I mean, that's just the square footage of the yard. It's not, not including the house itself, but just the actual turf. Probably average 6,000 for me. So that's certainly not a big property, and I prefer those small ones. But I think my biggest property is, let me see, it's gonna be, I think it's maybe 300,000 square feet. I mean, so it's several
Oh,
acres. I don't know if you
wow.
guys, acres is
Yeah.
not a metric term, is it?
No. Acres, but it equals, isn't it like
It's like
acres
some
is like
kind of
40?
hecto. What do y'all use?
Well, there's, yeah, but I think acres is like, what is it, 45,000 square feet or 40,000 square
Yeah,
feet
it's
or something? Okay.
43,560 square feet. But
Okay.
what unit of measurement do you guys use for big areas of land?
You know what? I just go by
Oh,
acreages
okay.
and
I
stuff,
got
right?
you.
So
I
I've
didn't
got
know what the
some.
metric system used for that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm like, it would be square meters, I guess they do.
Okay.
But everybody here still refers to that sort of stuff as like, if you're looking at
Okay.
a property size or something, everybody's like, well, how many square feet is it? How big is the house? How many square feet
That's
is it?
right.
Even though
Well,
we're
yeah,
metric.
yeah, this is about the size of several football fields,
Okay,
so
yeah.
it's a big commercial property and that sort of thing. But I mean, that's rare. I just got a few of those larger properties, mostly like, small end, these little garden homes that maybe 2,000 square feet, some even less than that. And then average is 6,000 square feet. And then I've got some of the larger homes that may sit on like 15,000 square feet,
Okay.
but so
Okay.
anywhere in that range.
Okay, so that's quite the range there. So you said obviously you sold off the mowing businesses. With the Fert and Squirts, are there any other services that you offer, like maybe as aerations or things that go with that, that are
Well,
sort of in that middle between
yeah,
those two types of businesses?
yeah. I don't do those
Okay.
aeration. I give those to a guy that does it for me. But um, I do. We have a few extra services. So like, a lot of the companies will have like a tree and shrub program where they instead of just working on the yard, they're also taking care of shrubs. Mine is very basic. All I do is basically fertilize the shrubs. We might do some weed control in the flower beds, things like that. And we do fire ant control, which fire ants are a big deal down here. I'm not sure if y'all deal with those, but
No.
it's a very easy application. You just spread a granular product all over the yard.
Okay.
But ant beds are a big deal because they're the fire ants are the ones that actually bite you, and so
Oh yeah.
parents concerned about that because just your kids out in the yard and they get in an
Yes.
ant bed and they get bit 40 times and that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Not a fun day.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. We have something starting here now called European Shaffer Beetle.
Okay.
That it started probably about 10 years ago in Vancouver. So the main city is Vancouver, and then there's a bunch of suburbs, and there's most of the suburbs are on the other side of a river,
Okay.
a really large river. So the infestation started, I guess it came across from Europe. on container ships, and they're these like little basically beetles
Mhm.
that infest the lawn, and they lay their eggs in the summer and stuff. And the skunks and crows can tell the larvae are in there, so they rip apart the lawns. So there's some whole neighborhoods that are completely destroyed by this thing, and the window of treatment is only the third week of July every year. Is
Okay.
the only
Yeah.
time that you can treat them. And then the city has come along and they've banned like the chemical to treat them, so you can only use
Okay.
like the nematodes to treat them, which then you have to make sure the lawns are moist and watered in. But then that's the third week of July, which also watering restrictions come into play. It's a huge
Well,
huge
yeah,
mess.
we have similar things. We have grubs, that would turn into some sort of moth, or and
Yeah,
so we treat them in June here, which again our June may be the equivalent of July there, as far as
yeah, yeah,
because we get warmer earlier. But and we don't get the skunks as much. We do have skunks, but more so you'll see a yard that gets torn up, and a lot of times it'll be moles. They'll make little tunnels in the
yeah.
yard, but sometimes when it gets dry, we get a big problem with armadillos.
Oh,
And so the armadillos come out of the woods and they start digging up people's yards looking for those grubs.
oh, okay.
So that's and same deal. We try to treat them, which we don't have as many pesticide bans as you guys, but
Yeah.
same idea. You can tell when the armadillos come through because they can rip a yard
Hmm.
pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely destroy it at times. So do you do predominantly residential stuff, or do you do a mix of commercial, residential, or?
Yeah, like I said, for the weed control, it's pretty much a numbers game. It's like a ball. I just need grass. I don't
Yeah,
care whose grass it is, So,
yeah,
but it's mostly residential, and even the pricing. Sometimes in mowing, you might have a little bit higher pricing structure for commercial. For me, like I said, it's just simply turf, and I'm out there spraying as much. How many ever square feet of turf I could spray in a day is the better. So in general, it's down here, and I don't, it's different area to area, but in our area, most people have their yard on some kind of weed control program.
okay,
So, it's very high demand service. It's also competitive, not as competitive as the mowing, but I've got some large competitors that also provide great service. So, you know,
awesome. So this next question is probably one of the ones that kind of gives guests pause for thought, and that would be share with us a time you struggled in your business and
mm.
maybe what you learned or you did to overcome it.
Well, I think, yeah, I've got three business. My current business really hadn't been a struggle.
Yeah.
To be honest, it was the struggle was getting enough customers to fill up my schedule. I had to have like 400 customers before I got a full route, and that took me 3 years to get there. So I was kind of working part-time jobs to get there. But I'm thinking back, I think one of the biggest mistakes I made in my other businesses was not, you mentioned earlier about employees and just not knowing how to manage people very well. And then two, just thinking through the numbers
Yeah.
of the how just pricing and things like that work. So I was not, basically I just wasn't charging enough because like I
Okay.
said,
Yeah.
somebody asked you to trim their hedges and I went back to the mentality you said, well, man, I used to make $12 an hour at my job. So if I make 20 trimming hedges, that's wow. I mean, that's a big increase.
Hmm.
And so I would do stuff like that just so cheap because I was thinking, well, we're already here on the job. It's no big deal for me to trim their hedges while we're cutting their grass. But it was just really not smart on my part. So, and then uh, I actually stepped away from my business for a little while and
Okay.
tried to manage it. I kept the business, but I had basically a crew chief and let them run it. Well, again, I struggled with that. I was not good at managing people
Okay.
and just didn't have the systems in place to be able to oversee them, and that became a struggle. So that's actually what I'm trying to fix now is as I'm trying to grow to hire people. I'm thinking you can't just hire somebody and throw them out there and expect it to go well. Like you have to train them. You have to give them some structure of how we operate as a business, and that's not that's where I basically messed up in the past and what I'm trying to get right, moving forward.
Oh, okay. Very cool. So in your current business, in what ways do you market your business?
So I tell people all the time the best two things that I've done is one, just ranking well on Google, and in my area, it's not super competitive. I'm not going after like the hugest, I'm not trying to be number one for Los Angeles, California on Google. I'm in a small town in Alabama. So,
Hmm.
but still, there's a lot of people in this area that search for lawn care on the
Yeah.
internet. So if I can rank up toward the top of the search engines, I think I might be sitting at number three locally at the
Okay.
at the moment. So I'd like to be number one, but whatever. Um, so that's probably been the best thing is just the leads I get on the internet, and then because I'm trying to market in a non-expensive way, because you can do direct mail and things like that that does work, but it also gets expensive.
Yes.
Um, the other thing is I've just tried to make a conscious effort to get to know people in the community, because when we moved here a little over 5 years ago, I didn't really know that many people. So mainly getting to know people who mow grass, because I'm like, I'm doing the weed control, you're mowing grass, and I send them customers, they send me customers.
Mhm.
But the more of those people I got to know, because I knew when I was mowing grass, I was being asked all the time, who do you recommend for weed control?
Okay.
So I know they're getting asked, and I
Yes.
want them to send them to me, and not in a forced way, just because like, hey, we have a relationship. I send them customers, they send me customers. We know each other, and they know they respect my work and know that I do a good job. And so I've been able to build quite a few of those relationships, and that's kind of a constant pipeline of new leads for me.
Yeah, it's actually a perfect symbiotic relationship. Those two
That's right.
businesses, right? If a lawn care company is not going to be doing like everything themselves, then it works
Mhm.
perfectly because you're not cannibalizing each other's sales or anything. You're working together, and it can work out really really well.
Yeah, and
So
that's one reason I'm not mowing grass, honestly, because I'm like, got a lot of mowing guys sending me customers right now. If I
yeah, yeah.
started mowing, I would instantly become their competitor,
Yeah, yeah,
so.
yeah. Very, very smart. You touched on, in that answer there of marketing in your small sort of community and stuff. Do you think, because that's something that I see a lot as well from guys just starting out, is that they are thinking too big in terms of marketing. They're like trying to blanket, and I'll see guys, driving around from like I mentioned here, like the city and stuff. They'll be working in the city, but then they'll go out to the suburb and then do two lawns there, and then drive across to the other suburb and it's like, what are you guys doing? Like, focus
Mm,
in on a small little area, maximize all your marketing and that sort of thing. And for me at least, it's worked wonders, just focusing on not even the whole city, just a small
mm.
part of the city, a small little corner of it. And it's done so well for me.
I think that's smart. Even as like I said, I'm not even brand new right now. I'm kind of getting more established in my current business. But if anything, I'm trying to become more compact. As you
Hmm.
think, well, I've kind of reached a level of stability. Now I want to expand and go wider and bigger. And I'm kind of taking the opposite approach. I'm like, no, I'm still looking to grow, but I'm wanting to become so compact that
Hmm.
every customer is just maximizing their profitability without having to just keep charging people more money, because you can only do that for so long. So yeah, so I'm actually turning down the customers further away and thinking, if I want to focus my efforts, is going to be as close as possible. And every time I get out there and do yards, when I have a street that I have 5 yards on the same street, I'm thinking, why don't I do this all the time? This is what I need to
Yeah.
be doing. I need 5 yards on every street and not 1 yard every 10-15 minute drive away.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just is the margins in lawn care are good, but they're not so good that you can just waste time driving all over town.
Yeah, yeah, and bottlenecks, especially, and if you get uh, the closer you get to a bigger city, the more traffic and time you
No,
waste just sitting. It's just ridiculous how
no,
much time.
we deal with that here. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not too far away from a city of about 1 million people, and I go there. I mean, it's sprawled out, but I mean, there's traffic issues, is what I'm saying. And I go there, and I'm thinking, why am I doing this? I mean, this is not profitable. And you're right. If I drive 3 minutes down the road from my house, I can be in a neighborhood that has hundreds of houses,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, keep building more. I'm thinking this is where I need to be right
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
I think sometimes we underestimate, like, you really don't have to have that many people in a town to make a
No.
good business. You think about, like, my little small town, we probably have 25,000 people in my city. I
Oh.
mean, I'm thinking, how many pizza restaurants are they going to open here? And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how many they open, they all seem to do well.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, you don't need that many restaurants to have a decent pizza restaurant, you know, enough business to support it. And same with lawn care. I mean, it's like we got like 100 people hitting this town,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
there's
yeah.
still room for more, you know. So
Yeah, yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, that's the thing that it leads to, right? When I see those guys starting out and they're doing it, and it's like think about how many lawns you could actually service yourself if you're mowing. You're starting your business. The area that you're in is going to have, like if I think about myself comfortably, I can do maybe at the max maybe 60 lawns by myself,
yeah.
and it'd be like, okay, well, I don't need to travel 5 cities and things to do that. The one
Hmm.
little area that I'm in, there's more, just in the neighborhood that I'm in, there's
Hmm.
hundreds of homes, right? So it's like even if you focus in on that, that's going to max you out on what you can do. And now you're probably able to do even more because they're so dense that then you can start growing at that rate instead of
Hmm.
driving all over town and wasting so much time. So yeah, just great advice there. So, what are your? You mentioned um, possibly next year adding a person to and having that second truck and stuff. So, what are your future plans and goals for your business beyond that?
Um, so I'm trying to, you know, I had somebody the other day ask me this about what am I going to focus on being on like you're doing YouTube and podcasts and things. I don't do podcasts, but I pretty much just do YouTube. Or am I going to focus on my own business? And I really don't think I have to choose that. I think I can do both at the
Mhm.
same time. I got a little bit distracted because I had your picture over on the side of my screen. That's why I was kind of looking to one side. I just
Okay.
moved you in the middle. So if I'm looking straighter now, that's the reason why.
Oh, there you go.
Um, so I wanted to do both, and I think I can because I think they complement each other. You know, it's not that I couldn't just do YouTube and do that. I guess I could, but I feel like the more connected I am with the actual business,
Mhm.
you know, the more I have to offer on the internet. And just to be honest with you, I like doing both.
Mhm.
I can get on my computer and do some work, but I get kind of tired of that really quick. So I need to get outside and
Yeah,
get
yeah.
out there and do something. So you know, I, I've got some plans of like as far as my own local business goes. I'm trying to grow it, trying to basically, you know, my desperate move is just get somebody full time where I can hopefully cut back to doing actual field labor 4 days a week. If I could go from 5 days a week to 4 days a week, I think that would make a huge difference in just me being able to also put time into other things. So if I can do that next year, that would be great. It's not going to happen this year, I don't think. And
Okay.
then on the YouTube thing, you know, I one thing I got to realizing was there's a lot of people obviously doing things on the internet as far as lawn care goes,
Hmm.
and it's honestly it's pretty competitive to even get time, you know, get people to watch your
Yes.
content. So I'm trying to grow and be excellent at that, but I thought, well, what do I have to offer? Because I don't want to just be like everybody else. So I think I'm probably one of the few people who's actually in the weed control and fertilization
Yes.
business doing YouTube. There's a lot of people mowing grass doing YouTube videos,
Hmm.
and there's nothing wrong with that. And there's a lot of people that are teaching weed control and fertilization from a homeowner standpoint.
Yes.
But there's really very few of us. I can think of one other maybe that are doing, you know, teaching weed control and fertilization from a business standpoint. So I kind of think that's a little bit of a niche for me and
Yes.
something that I've sort of refocused myself and saying, you know what, I can't compete with everybody on YouTube,
Mhm.
but I think I can be the person for this area of YouTube.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. You have to sort of figure out, what you're good at and what sort of sets you apart. I'm the same with the podcast and everything. I tell people all the time, like what I love with the experiences that I've had starting multiple businesses and stuff is that starting of the business part, is the branding, the logos, the colors, all the thought process that goes into that. And then, getting your lawn care business up and running to that point. But I always say, if you're looking for help with employees, growing multiple crews, things like that, I'm not your guy. I haven't
Yeah.
done it. So why would I
Yeah.
try to teach you on it if I've never done it before, right? Then, here's the handoff, go to Brian's lawn maintenance, and, he can tell you all about that, or, one of the plethora of other guys
Yeah.
that are doing that, right? So you sort of figure out what you're good at, what you're comfortable in talking, because you never want to be telling people stuff that you've never had experience with, or not, teaching and stuff, right? Because it's obviously inauthentic, and you can't really stand behind it, right? It's
That's
very
right.
very easy to see where it sort of gets fake and stuff if the person's never done it, right? But I'm sure you get comments from people that have seen your content and stuff and have put it to practice and are just like grateful to you for everything that you've done because it's proven. And I'm sure you're like me as well, where I always say, take everything I say with a grain of salt, because I'm in Canada on the West Coast, with these, applications where there's restrictions on chemicals and things like that. This is what I've done for my business that's worked. It doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. And it doesn't mean that there's a better way, that you may have figured out a better way to do what I'm doing. Right. It's just take it with a grain of salt, try it out and stuff like that. Listen to other guys, try out there, figure out in your own combination what's going to work for you as well. So I think finding that niche, like you said, really, can set you apart, and people can piece together what they need from multiple sources for that. So very, very, very cool there. So in the course of your business, this is another question I've been starting to ask some people, and it kind of gives some people pause for thought as well. But it's what's the weirdest thing that you have seen or has happened to you during the course of business?
Weirdest thing. I can think of some weird things that have caught me off guard. The customers are weird
Yeah,
sometimes. And I say 99% of customers are, at least here, are pretty normal and
yeah,
treat you. Some are more demanding than others, but that's okay. But I mean, most of them are. But occasionally you get just weird ones. But I had I'll say one time I had and I think most lawn care people have respect for each other. Our
yes,
competitors have respect.
yeah,
I have one, and I believe it was one of my competitors, and this bothered me, but they kind of went below the belt in my opinion. But they basically created a fake online profile and went and left negative reviews on my Google profile.
yeah, yeah,
And I don't know if that's weird, but it was, I thought, wow, some people, because I take the approach like, well, I want to get to know my competitors, and we
yeah, yeah,
have respect. Now, obviously, we are competing. I'm trying to get customers. They're trying to get customers. But I mean, I don't see why we can't have some sort of relationship and have
yeah,
respect for each other. And to me, that really crossed the line when they go and do that. So
yeah, yeah.
um, that may be the dirtiest thing that ever
Okay,
happened,
yeah,
more than weirdest
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
But
yeah.
weird, I can't think of. I can't think of too many. The weird ones seem to like usually involve the customers, but I can't. I'm sorry, I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Okay, no problem. Some guys have a list of them and stuff, and I guess it just depends on where you're at
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
that's right. I
But
guess
yeah,
weird. Once weird happens so many times, it becomes normal then, and it's no
yeah,
longer weird.
yeah, yeah. Very, very weird. So let's see here. What is one hidden pitfall with running a lawn care business or a fert and squirt business that you see that prevents people from succeeding?
Well, I think there's more than one, but I think um, well, I'm going to talk about. I can think of several honestly off the top of my head, but I'm going to talk about the one that I've been thinking of so much in my own life
Okay.
lately. I've sort of changed my focus because we talked a little bit about the money and things like that,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking I've gotten interested in the stock market and just
Okay.
interest and how much money I've given to banks and interest just
Hmm.
started to bother me. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking, why do I do this? But I'm thinking if I was going back to advise a 20 something year old who was starting a lawn business, like I'm looking at me when I started, I wasn't married, didn't have kids. My life was so cheap. I didn't have a house payment or anything. It was this really cheap life. I'm thinking what I really should have done was try to make as much money as humanly possible and save about 70% of it
Hmm.
and invest it, do something besides, whatever I did with it.
Yeah.
Um, but you can't get that time back. I mean, I'm just thinking
Yeah.
even the US stock market in the past 10 years has probably tripled,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm thinking if I would have did stuff then, how much easier it would be. Because what happens is life gets more expensive, and you need to make money. You put some more pressure on your business, and if you don't have an established business or savings or something like that, people they're out there mowing grass with an old beat up lawnmower, and then it breaks, and they can't really afford to upgrade their equipment because their business is not healthy enough. So I mean, I think it's not the people's quality of work usually that makes them fail. It's their money, and they have bad money management, and then
Yeah.
they just don't have good business skills. It's not
Yeah.
because they don't know how to get out there and make a yard look good. So I don't know. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it 20 years too late, but I'm
Yeah.
trying to start now. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, okay, I wish I'd have started this years ago, but from now on, I'm going to get the interest working in my favor as opposed to against
Hmm.
me.
Yeah, I think we all have that, right? Like for me here on the west coast of Canada, I look back to my very first house that I bought after I got married, and it was just cracking the $200,000 mark, and I was like, "This is insanity! $200,000 for a house." If only I knew what those house prices would be now in
Yeah,
2020, I would have bought six of them.
yeah.
I would have maximized every loan I could to buy as much property as I could and just held on to it and and made those mortgage payments 50, 60 years if I had to make the payments affordable.
Yeah,
And I think because now I'd be like, multi
yeah,
millionaire with these properties. It's insane, right? But you don't know. You can't.
yeah. That's right. You
It's
don't
those.
know. The truth is, you can still get a pretty nice house here for that amount of money.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's great. I'm gonna have to move out there.
that's right.
What is your biggest frustration with running your fert and squirt business?
Probably people paying their bills late.
Okay.
I think when I'm trying to make my schedule really tight. I thought this year what I want to do is become more efficient, and I
Yep.
think so. We talked about getting rid of customers that are way out of the way, or um, I'm wanting everybody to be close together. But then the other thing that kills me on efficiency, I got to think about this. I'll go to one. Let's say I got a neighborhood that's 3 minutes down the road, and I've got 20 customers in that neighborhood. Well, it would make all the sense in the world to most anybody on planet Earth to do all 20 of those on the same day, if possible.
Yeah.
Uh, what I found is I'll make 4 trips to the same neighborhood to do these 20 yards, not like 4 days in a row. It's like I do 6 of them today and come back 2 weeks later and do. And I'm like, why am I doing this? And the reason I do it is, let's say 3 of them were late on their payment, so I
Mm-hmm.
skipped them, and then they finally paid, so I went back and did that. 3 of them signed up late for this year, so I got them off, and I'm like, I got to get everybody on the same schedule, and because like I said that you got to be efficient, and I'm trying to become more efficient, and so I've just really started cracking down on late payers and making them prepay or credit card
Yeah.
on file or whatever I got to do, because ultimately it's just killing my profitability,
Yes.
making wasting time. I'm just
Yeah. Yeah.
wasting. I'm like, and you got to either pass that customer cost on to the customer. I'm like, if I could just run this more efficiently, I know that my profits would be more at the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That's a great point. I slowly made the transition over the few years of doing checks and cash and things like that, and then slowly started introducing credit card on file to new customers, and I would keep the old customers on, if it was comfortable. But it didn't matter how good of a customer they were. At some point in time, they would be late on paying, or suddenly go AWOL and stuff. And it's like, what the heck, like, what's going on here? I can't keep coming to your house all the time and knocking on your
Yeah.
door and stuff. And I finally just made the transition and just said, you know what, it's mandatory. And to this day forward, like, you have to give me a credit card on file before we even start. There's no
Did you
thing.
lose customers when you did that?
No, I didn't. Ironically,
Oh yeah.
when I put because the thing is, the relationships were built, and I'm very, with those customers, always talking to them, and
Mm,
we joke around and stuff like that. And some of them, I've been told, like some past customers that have passed away and stuff, I've been told by their families that, like, thank you so much, like, they looked forward to every
mm.
Monday when you came, for those 10 years or something. Like, that was a highlight of their week, that you were coming to chat with them and stuff like that, right? So when it came to just saying, okay, well, I'm going to credit card because it just takes too much money chasing, or too much time chasing money and stuff like that, people were all on board. They're like, okay, get it, and we trust you. We've been, you've been dealing with our things. The newer ones there's been some resistance with that, with people saying, no, I don't want to give you my credit card and stuff. And I just say, okay, well, then I'm not the guy for you, right? Because
Yeah.
it's right.
And I think that's a great way to do it. Just be honest with you, because I'm thinking I used to get worked up over the credit card fees. Let's
Yeah,
say
yeah,
it's 2.85% or
yeah,
whatever it is, and I thought, well, you know what? What happens for me is I got maybe half that pay with credit card, half pay with checks. On the checks, I go to my PO box and I get the checks out, come home, enter them into the software, stamp them, drive to the bank, stand in line at the bank,
yeah,
which they're almost always slow.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm thinking, I think I'm wasting more than 2.85%
Mm-hmm.
of my money in time I'm
Yeah,
spending to deal with these checks. So like,
yeah, yeah,
if you really look at time equals money in your business, I think it's actually a pretty good deal to only give up 2.85%.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just so instant. So I've
yeah.
kind of gotten less away. I mean, I hate paying fees, but I
Yes, yes,
really
of
think
course,
it's
everybody does.
probably worth it, honestly, as far
Yeah,
as your efficiency goes.
yeah, and your just mental state of health too, right? Not
No,
worrying about it, right? And when you build those relationships, like, at least for me, it's a little bit different with the lawn care side. But those customers, they know, like, and trust you. So you get to a point like where I am, where customers are like, hey, this hedge needs trimming. When are you able to do that? And I'll be like, I'll put it on my list, and I'll get to it. And they're like, okay, just do it when you can. Bill my credit card. They don't even ask me how much it's going to cost anymore, because they
yeah.
know I'm not going to rip them off. It's going to be
Mhm.
fair. And I've never had, people complaining or coming back going, it was how much? Like, what's this
Yeah.
charge? Sort of thing, right? Because they know I'm going to be fair about it. Stuff, I've been working for you for this long, or whatever it is. I'm not going to jeopardize that and go carte blanche and just charge whatever.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think it's interesting here you talk about that, because I sometimes I go back and forth, and I sometimes I want to never see my customers and just
yeah,
pretend like they don't exist. Just
yeah,
I wanted to do the work and have no people involvement, but really I think it's important, and I've heard people speak of it that way. But then it really is, if you're part of the community
yeah,
and there is a relationship. Now some customers don't want to see you, and I'm fine with that. I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
need to see them either, but there are a lot of them that actually want to get to know you and
yeah, yeah,
know and you do get to know them over the course of a number of years. I mean, you honestly become friends with some of them, and
yeah,
I
yeah,
think, unless you're just really socially awkward, that's kind
yeah,
of a perk of the business. Now, the
yeah, yeah.
ones that want to talk to you for 30 minutes every time you
Yeah,
come,
that's
that's a struggle, but that's very few people that like.
yeah,
They're
yeah, yeah.
usually old, lonely people. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those ones, you can almost turn into a game sometimes. It's like, okay, you're like, you're almost like creeping. Like, you pull up the truck, okay, nobody's out. I
yeah,
don't see the
that's
curtains
right.
moving. Let's get in and
That's
out as
right.
fast as I can
That's right.
before they come out, right? But it's funny. I do have one customer. I've been mowing their lawn for, it's got to be at least 6 or 7 years now. I've not met them in person once.
Yeah.
It was over email. They asked for a quote. I went and quoted their lawn. I do their lawn. They give me their credit card. I email them every, maybe year and a half or so when the credit card expiry date comes up. They send me a new number. I just continue to mow their lawn. I show up every spring. I charge their and
Oh yeah.
it's like one of those things. They're either too
Well, hey,
busy, they don't, and I'm like, that's
that's
fine.
right. And I love those customers too, you know. So you need some of both. I can't be friends with everybody. So if I got some invisible customers that pay every time, I'm
Yeah, yeah.
perfectly happy with that.
Yeah, I think a long thing or something that goes a long way with credit card payments that I've learned is your image. So if you've got trucks and logos and uniforms and stuff, it's a
Uh,
lot easier and you get less resistance. If I were to show up in a old beat up pickup truck with some lawnmowers in the back, I would probably imagine people would be like, "I'm not giving you my credit card,"
yeah,
sort of thing,
yeah,
right? And I've actually had a lady tell me that, like straightforward. Like I pulled up, I did a quote for her, within 5 minutes, she accepted the quote. And I said, okay, I just need your credit card so I can thing. And she literally took her credit card and went to hand it to me. And just as I grabbed it, she kind of held on to it. And she goes, this is crazy. I've only known you for 5 minutes and I'm about to give you my credit card number. And then she's like, but I can tell by your uniforms and your truck and trailer that you're not going anywhere. You're not like a fly by
yeah,
night business. And I said, yeah,
yeah.
I'm not, right? It's like, I said, and I said, it's the best way to protect both of us because if you don't agree with the credit card the charge or something, you just call up your credit card. And I use it as a sales thing in saying that, if you were to complain, like I just say, think about this. If I were to, just charge your credit card some crazy amount or something like that, that you didn't authorize, and you called that credit card company and complained, and they investigate and see that I was at fault, that jeopardizes the whole way I do business. And
Mhm.
if they take away my merchant account, now I'm not only stuck with you not being able to collect money from, I can't collect money from all of my clients.
That's
So I
right.
said,
Yeah.
credit card actually gives you all of the power because it's going to protect you from those payments because most credit cards will have like a $50 limit or something like that
Mhm.
on fraud and things like that. But it also messes me completely up if you were to complain about it. So I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize having my merchant account, right? And they
Yeah.
see it that way and they're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense,
Yeah.
right?
I've never
And
actually thought of that. That's a great point. I'm gonna have
and
to
it
use that for my own
yeah, and
business.
it just like puts them over the edge of going, hey, that's a great, like,
Yeah.
yeah, no problem, right? Sort of thing. So in what is one resource that you have found uh, that you've used the most in building your businesses, whether it's maybe a person, a mentor, or something online, or
Yeah. I have a. Well, I'm gonna speak about my current business. I have a guy. So when I moved here, I just had to make a living. You know, I was like moving new town, had zero customers,
yeah,
and so I had to get going. So I was mowing lawns and wanted to do weed control, and I was working nights and weekends trying to make side money, just whatever I had to do. Well, I had a guy that, and this is how I got started in weed control. He was friends with me in my previous city I lived in, and he had a big weed control and fertilization company, and which had been sold. And so I called him up and told him, hey, I'm thinking about getting into weed control, and he basically told me that he would help me out getting started in it, and he works for a
okay,
supply company now, so he sells the products that I use. But I mean, he just went above and beyond as far as teaching me what to do, when, what to spray, when to spray it, what fertilizer to use. There's so many things to learn because it's very regional, like you're saying. Somebody calls me from Canada. Well, I don't know what to tell. I don't know what kind. They show me a picture of a weed that I've never seen before in my life because we don't have that
yeah,
weed
yeah,
here. And then something I might use to spray a weed with, you can't use because it's not, it's banned. And even the timing, you may have, even if you had the same grass types, the weather's different. So
yeah,
I may put down a pre-emergent application this timing, but for you it may be a month later.
mhm,
Um, so anyway, I just had an individual person, and I think that's the way to do it, especially for the weed control, but even on the mowing side, because more for the business skills and just kind of because it just takes experience to learn things of what to do, what not to do. But by far he's been the biggest resource for me, and I've
okay,
leaned on him pretty heavily, honestly. So.
okay. If you were to start your business all over again, what is one thing you would do differently?
Well, let's see. I did start over twice,
Yeah.
so like I did. So I guess I don't know that I would do a lot different this third time. I think It would probably be along the same things we talked about. I probably
Okay.
would be even more focused on a geographical area,
Okay.
narrower on my geographical territory, and then I would have to really think hard about going to credit card only because, like you said, to me, it's not even the 2.85%.
Hmm.
It's uh, the mental anguish it causes me that somebody's 90 days overdue and they quit replying to my text
Yeah.
messages.
Yeah.
I get so mad at that stuff that I'm thinking, well, that's definitely worth 2.85% to
Hmm.
not have to deal with this. So probably that because I've never been one that like just got overly focused on cash flow. Like I got to have the money like today because I did the work today. But there is something to that. You
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
want to do work and not get paid for it for 6 months,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
3 months. I mean, that is a business problem.
Yeah.
So I would probably try to streamline some of those things.
Okay. Very, very good. So, in the community, the lawn care community, you're one of the guys that would instantly come up in people's thoughts as being a leader in this community, somebody who's sort of paved the way with your YouTube channel. You've got 54,000 subs on your YouTube channel. You share just the the facts and nothing but the facts. There's no candy coating it. There's no polish.
Yeah.
There's no gimmicks and tricks and things. It's just the straight turn on the camera, talk and stuff. So what have you found has been sort of your success in that sort of realm of YouTube? What do you think has been sort of the secret sauce? Because it's everybody I talk to, it seems to be different, right? Not one thing
Yeah.
works for each person and stuff, but
And I didn't really know the answer to that. I think I had to learn from other people. So I have people tell me, this is why we watch your video. Because for me, yeah, I'm not a video editor or anything. I turn
mhm,
the camera on, stick it in my face, and start talking. And but I'm thinking when I watch videos, I just want to know the information.
yeah, yeah,
I don't need all the other stuff. So I think, well, that's what I'm going to do, and really, that's all I know how to do. So I do think as I've learned myself, and people come up and talk to me, they say that I'm have an approachability about me, I guess.
okay,
When it seems very authentic,
yeah,
and I try to be authentic. I think everybody should be authentic, but I guess maybe some people don't come across as authentic. So
mhm,
um, I think it gives them a sense where they can trust me, and I try not to like you mentioned. I try not to get out there and say stuff I don't really know much about. Though
yeah, yeah,
occasionally, I other day I got into talking about draining water out of my yard, and this guy who's like a professional drainage guy
yeah,
corrected something I said. I was like, well,
yeah,
I probably went a little overboard on that. I was talking about something I really didn't know a lot about. Um, so I think just trying to be real and authentic and just keep the
yeah, yeah,
trust of the viewer. Not try not to waste people's time if I can. I mean, it's tricky on YouTube because you gotta keep making new videos.
yes,
They just the way YouTube works.
yeah,
But at the same time, you don't want to just waste people's time. So it's always a trick of how to make new content, but keeping it relevant where people are watching in. And then there's tricks to YouTube on how to get more views. I don't try to cheat the system. I just try to learn how the system works and how to use it. So, like we talk about being a niche. And so I'm thinking, well, what can I make videos about in the weed control and fertilization realm that I know will get a lot of views and give relevance to my channel that people genuinely want to look at? But so there's different approaches. Like some people go more the vlog approach and they're
yeah,
just
yeah,
kind of going about their daily life. I don't really do that as much, though some people do follow me that way. I'm more just kind of go topical and
yep,
think of like topics that I know people would be interested in. And so maybe it's not interesting to the subscribers, but if a lot of other people are watching it who are not subscribers, then that's fine too.
yeah,
So
absolutely, absolutely. So lots of great points there. You mentioned, doing a video and then having somebody, some professional guy pop up or
yeah,
something, right? It's so funny. I was looking at a comment that I got on one of my videos, and the person was like, "This guy is clueless. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's never, been able. He shouldn't be, look for a different line of work. Blah blah blah." Right? And I responded back something like, it's amazing to me, because he said, it's amazing to me how many of these how-to videos are online of people that don't know, what they're talking about and stuff. And
Yeah.
then I responded something back like, it's amazing to me how many people who apparently know how to do stuff are online looking at how-to videos on the things that they apparently know how to do.
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
like,
Yeah,
why are you watching videos on stuff that you already know how to do? Like, it makes no
that's
sense.
right.
It's
I think it's the same. Yeah, there's those people out there. I've actually gotten less and less of the horrible comments lately. I think I've like deleted so many of those people from my channel that there's not many of them left. Because whenever I get one of those, you hit the ban them from the channel, and I
yeah, yeah.
never hear from them again. I think I've done that to so many of them that I almost get no negative
Well,
comments anymore.
and you have to, right? You have to sort
Yeah,
of
it's
draw a
one
line.
strike and you're out. I
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
I mean, if it's positive, if it's constructive criticism,
Yes.
okay, sure. Like I
Yeah, yeah.
didn't ban that guy for correcting me on the drainage. I mean, he was right and I was wrong. Um, but some people get on there and just are hateful. I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
ain't got
yeah, yeah.
time for all that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If they're not, like, if it's a like somebody mentioned in that video, oh, you didn't mention that you have to do this and stuff, and I said, you know what, you're right, I didn't mention that, because I said it's basically a brain fart. I hit the camera, it's sitting record, you're recording, you're going through the motion, you don't always remember to mention
That's
every
right.
point. I said, and that's what the comments are for. People are mentioning it, people read the comments and figure it out and sort of thing, right? But then some people, same comment over and over again, and it's like, oh, you're an idiot, you're this, you're that. It's like, okay, you're banned.
Yeah, that's
Like, I
right.
don't mind if you're going to be constructive, but as soon as you start being, like you said, hateful or things like that,
That's right.
then there's no need for that. So along with your YouTube channel, you also have the Lawn Care Life conference that you've
Mm.
been putting on. You just recently had your conference, I think it was last week, that one, or 2 weeks ago.
We
Um,
did it in January 23rd and 24th was
okay,
our,
okay,
yeah.
so it was a
So
month
it's
ago
been,
now.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So a successful conference there. You had some sponsors out, some equipment out for people to try. So
Mhm.
tell people a bit about that, and I'm assuming that you'll be having another one coming for 2021.
Well, we did. This was our third year to do it, and it's the last 2 years we've made it into a 2-day event. And yeah, Jobber was always a great sponsor. They were our title sponsor for the second year in a row. And then we had Skag, we had Gravely came and had mowers to demo. Xmark gave away a 30-inch commercial mower, and then we had some of the YouTubers. We had Alan Hain, the lawn care nut, and people that watch him maybe for lawn care, he's really an expert on marketing, and so I get him to come talk about marketing. And we had Keith Kalfas, and then we had some other guys, other speakers, whether with a company or I brought in some other speakers to
Yep.
talk on different topics. A lot of sponsors involved, so it was good. We had a little over 100 people sign up this year, and it's kind of, I try to keep it more like family atmosphere. It's real laid back.
Okay.
We eat our meals together, kind of buffet style
Oh,
meals,
nice.
and everybody's sitting around eating together. And when I do the post event survey, asking people what they like, what they didn't like, that one of the things they usually say is they like the networking. We're
Hmm.
just all there together hanging out. You can learn from the other attendees. So, um, I don't know. When we do it, when we do finish doing it, it takes. It's not that I don't like doing it. I do. I like it to some degree. It's hard to do that and have my conference, do my own business and
Yep.
YouTube and all that. So I don't know. I don't. I always say when we finish doing it, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to do that again next year or not.
Okay.
But we then a few months goes by and I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
well, maybe we should do it again. So I don't commit to doing it again. We may do it. We may take a year off. We may do it. Who knows? I'm non-committal on that at the
Oh,
moment.
okay. Okay. No
Yeah.
problem. No problem. So the other thing that you do is you have an online academy. So you've got some downloadable products that people can get
Mm-hmm.
into, as well as some courses and stuff. So maybe tell people about it, a bit about that.
Yeah, so my website is lawncarelife.com. What I tried to do was put together a video course, and it's more for like people starting in the lawn business, just everything from setting up your business to marketing and getting customers and managing employees, all that kind of stuff. And and then I've got marketing letters like downloadable documents, things like
Yep.
that. We also do a little bit of logo work. I have a graphic designer that
Okay.
works with me. So people buy a logo and he customizes it for them. And I'm trying to, again, as I'm trying to work on my own business, being weed control and fertilization, I'm in the process of putting together a weed control and fertilization course, a
Okay.
video course for that. So I'm hoping in the next few months I'll be done with that. I've got a video guy coming to help me shoot the videos for it, and then we got to edit them and do all
Yep.
that stuff. Again, as my audience shifts, I want the content to be relevant to who my audience is and also what I'm dealing with. So, it's people think you get, I don't know, people, you hear in the comments, people think why you do YouTube things or
Hmm.
online or your podcast. And some people think you, some people think you don't make any money. Some people think you make $1 million.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, it's somewhere in between that. I can guarantee
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, we do make money, but it's a lot of work, and you gotta have a strategy of how to make money. You can't
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
make a few random videos or you'll make like $6,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean, so I do the online content, and then thinking of other ways that I can not just provide resources that would be helpful to people, and if they're interested in it, they're interested in it. If not, then no big deal.
Yeah. 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 No, it's funny those the comments you get always strikes a chord with me because you get the same thing, and I've seen the same thing in others. Like initially, when I was thinking about doing a podcast and stuff, I was watching, like Keith Kalfas and stuff like that, and I remember him putting out his first book, and people were like, "Oh, now he's just selling out." He's just like, and I'm like, "Are
Yeah,
you kidding me?" Like he put out all this information that you guys are like loving, and you
yeah,
can't talk, enough about, and now he wants to sell a book, and now all of a sudden, that information is not good anymore
that's
because
right. Yeah,
it's like, come on. So when I started my podcast, before sponsors and all that sort of stuff, one of the things I did, because I was like, I love podcasts. I listen to podcasts all the time. They all have ads in it. So right from day one, I'm going to start putting ads, whether they're just ads I make up myself because they're affiliate
yeah,
links and things like that, just to get people used to it so that when
yeah,
I, in the future finally do have a sponsors or stuff like that, then you're already used to the flow of knowing that there's going to be
mm,
ad breaks and things like that,
mm,
so that there's not this, oh, you're selling out, you're this. It's like, no,
that's
this is
right.
how it's going to go. I wouldn't expect
Yeah,
you to go provide Mrs. Jones her lawn care for free every week. Like,
that's right.
you gotta, there's a balance there.
Yeah, and then there's a balance in the sense of like I'm not going to do a video and have every 10 seconds a new sponsor of my new video. There's tons of
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
that's out there for free, but at the same time, I'm going to mention what's of it. Like for instance, I mean, I get people that tell me, "Oh, I would have loved to come to your conference, but I didn't even know about it." And I
yeah,
felt like I mentioned it 100 times
yeah,
on YouTube. I'm like, I say it every single time I do a video. For 6 months
yeah,
straight. And like now I mentioned at the end of my videos, hey, I've got some resources available at lawncarelife.com. Well, I mean, thousands of people watch it and don't go buy anything, and that's
yeah,
fine. But for the few that want to, they have to hear about it,
yeah, yeah,
and if you don't, so anyway, it's just, but you don't want to overwhelm people and just
yeah,
say, my next sentence is sponsored by so and
yeah.
so, and the sentence after that is sponsored by, I mean, you can't annoy people.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, there's that balance there that you have to sort of respect people's time and stuff as well
That's right.
with it. So my last question is my absolute favorite, and it is, share your best piece of advice with someone just starting out in the business. But I want you to come at this question from the point of view that this isn't just some random person that's coming up to you. This is somebody that you like, you trust, you only want to see the best for this person. They come up to you and
Mhm.
say, "Hey, Jason, I'm thinking about starting a fert and squirt business or a lawn care business. What can you
Yeah.
tell me?"
Okay. I think I've got some thoughts on this,
Okay.
and I'll try to keep it concise here. But I mean, and you've hinted on this, but I tell people when they start off, like you've seen it, and like lawn care people in general are really bad business people, and they're really bad marketers, and they're hard workers. I
Yeah.
mean, but they don't understand. I'm not, and I'm saying in general.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's exceptions. So what I tell you, like, you don't have to be great at marketing, but if you are just mediocre at it, you will be better than most people in
Hmm.
our industry. If we were starting an online software company, then you would probably need to be great at marketing to be, because they're going to be great at it. But in lawn care, if you just have something besides clip art for your logo, and you probably did pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, I think I would tell them, like, listen, let's sit down and not, we don't take all day with it, but like, let's actually make a plan from the beginning, and like with your, just the whole branding, the color scheme, like you saying you
Yeah.
like doing that. I can tolerate it, but I see there's definitely value in it,
Hmm.
because how I brand my company from the very beginning with the name, like my company is Alabama Lawn Pros.
Hmm.
Okay. I didn't have a single customer when it was called Alabama Lawn. I get calls from all over Alabama
Hmm.
for Alabama Lawn Pros, and I'm like, I don't work, but within a certain, cities here. I mean, I get calls from 4 hours away, and
Yeah.
they say, "Oh, you're Alabama Lawn Pros," and I wanted it to be that way. I wanted it to sound like I was like some big established
Yeah.
company that possibly covers the entire state of Alabama.
Hmm.
I don't, but so I'm somebody like, you gotta have that image that, like, when somebody goes to my website and they see Alabama Lawn Pro, like, they don't know I started yesterday.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
looks like, oh, this guy is legit and he's been doing this for a long time. And I think I would actually pay him a little bit more than the guy who pulled up in the
Hmm.
unmarked truck with
Yeah.
some lawnmowers in the back. And they will. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't necessarily say that out loud, but I think almost all of us, when we go eat at a restaurant, if it's depending on the decor, we
Hmm.
walk in the doors, I'm thinking, I'd probably pay a little bit more to eat here. I bet the
Yeah,
food.
yeah.
And the same thing with lawn care. You pull up, he's like, okay, this guy's quality. This is who I want taking care of my yard. And they're not worried about if it's $3 cheaper than the
Yeah.
other guy or more. So I mean, I think just getting that whole branding thing right would be starting. And obviously, you got how, marketing plan, how we're going to get customers and everything. I'd get out there and just be a social butterfly, meet everybody I could. I do think people got to get a website if you're trying to
Yeah.
long term. I mean, it's not going to be an overnight success. I made a website on WordPress yesterday, and tomorrow I got 12 calls. I mean, that's not realistic, but long term, it can really pay dividends. So
Yeah.
those are just a few of my thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so easy now to do that sort of stuff, even if you're, uncomfortable and stuff. There's so many services out there, the Fivers and things that, like, you
Yeah.
offer the logo design, that stuff. It's like there's so many options available to
Mm.
people, even websites. I stumbled upon, we talk about Google My Business and the importance of that and
Mhm.
having a listing. I recently found out and did a video just before Christmas, I believe, about Google My Business and stuff, but also that I found out that Google is now providing free websites to businesses, and
Wow, I didn't
they're
know
just
that.
they're just a basic website, but it's I'm and I think the thoughts I sort of ended my video on was, you know Google has come out and over the past year and said, they want all the websites to be mobile friendly and all this sort of stuff. So if you actually started a website with Google in the format that they want, would that actually benefit your search results in having it as a Google website? And it's linked to your Google My Business and all that stuff. And it's free and it's all like drag and drop sort of thing. And it's not the prettiest, but even if you had that as a secondary website or something
Mm.
like that, it's just another way to get started and get in there. But yeah, great points that you listed there. Absolutely awesome advice for somebody just starting out. So thank you, Jason, that has for coming onto the podcast. Pretty much covered everything I think I wanted to chat with you about. I don't want to take too much of your time. I think we're running about an hour and 17 minutes here with the podcast. So thank you very much for coming on to the show.
All right, enjoyed it. Thanks. Good to talk with you.
Awesome. Thank you.